Hello, this is Lance Churchill from Frontline Real Estate Schools and Frontline Seminars. I'm here to talk to you today about the differences between the three HAFA programs that have been published. The original HAFA program that was created by the United States Treasury Department in November 2009 and which took effect on April 5th of 2010 was meant to be a model HAFA program, and it was specifically created to cover servicers and lenders other than Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, with the stated goal that Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae would issue their own HAFA programs, which they did in June of this year and which take effect on August 1st of 2010. The HAFA program was created to simplify the short sale process and forms so that the short sale experience would be smoother for everyone involved, agents, buyers, sellers, and such. So we had this model program that was created, but unfortunately the Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae programs are not identical to the model program. They're only about 80 to 85% the same. So while they all technically carry the same name and technically look almost the same, if you look at the forms, they're very similar. There are some subtle differences in the programs that, if you don't understand them, could get you in trouble. So in response to requests from students and clients, I went through the three programs in detail and created a chart that breaks down the differences between the programs. Now, what I discovered was there were about 15 areas of difference that were worth noting, and so in creating this chart, I broke it out in this way. I used the United States Treasury Department HAFA program as the model, and if there were no differences between the model program and the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac programs, I didn't mention them on the chart. For example, all three programs pay $3,000 in relocation assistance to the seller. And so, since that's the same in all three programs, I didn't mention it in the chart. The chart is meant only to note differences between the three programs, utilizing the Treasury Department program as the base model. Now, due to time constraints today, I can't go over all 15 of those differences that I discovered, but I can go over 5 significant ones I think you need to know about to understand how the HAFA programs are different. So let's look at the chart and go through some of these differences here. The first one is the eligibility for the HAFA program for borrowers. The Treasury Department is fairly lenient in their standard, simply stating that any time in the pre-foreclosure or foreclosure process, if the borrower is delinquent or defaults reasonably foreseeable, they can apply for the HAFA program. Fannie Mae took a pretty strict standard and said that while the borrower should be in default or an imminent risk of default, if the request for participation in the Fannie Mae HAFA program is within 60 days of a scheduled foreclosure auction, you have to have prior written consent from Fannie Mae, or the servicer has to have that consent before they can accept a borrower into the program. And then Freddie Mac tweaks it even a little bit differently. They require that the borrower has to be 60 days delinquent on mortgage payments at the time of their application to be eligible, so they're actually going to have to miss a few payments to be included in the Freddie Mac program. This ought to be another example for everyone why it's very important to understand who owns the mortgage or who owns the loan at the time you're moving into thinking about doing a short sale, so you're going to know what kind of standards you have to meet. The next one is borrower financial eligibility and circumstances that might disqualify one from HAFA. The Treasury Department, again, is pretty lenient. They simply state that you have to have some hardship information that qualifies you. If your income's more than 31%, you might have to make some partial mortgage payments during the listing. That's pretty much it. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac decided to add something to that. Fannie Mae first says that if you can make mortgage payments, but you're choosing not to do so, meaning you're a strategic defaulter, then you don't qualify for their program. Or if your income is too high, again, that can be disqualifying. Then Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae have this $5,000 3-monthly payment standard, and they kind of worded exactly the opposite of each other, but it says the same thing. Fannie Mae says, if you are disqualified if you have cash reserves exceeding 3 monthly payments or $5,000, whichever is greater. So if your mortgage payment's $2,500 a month, 3 times is $7,500, it would take, that's greater than $5,000, so that would disqualify you if you had more than $7,500 in cash reserves. Freddie Mac says it kind of the opposite. They must have cash reserves less than the greater of $5,000 or 3 times the total monthly mortgage payment. So in the same scenario, $2,500 monthly mortgage payment times 3 is $7,500. The cash reserves have to be $7,500 or less. in order to qualify. Where Fannie Mae says if it's 7,500 or greater, you don't qualify. Saying the same thing, just a little bit differently. The next thing that I think is very important are the minimum acceptable net proceeds. They call them MAP. In the Treasury Department model program, it provides either the list price or the MAP can be specified in the short sale agreement, meaning it's almost like a completely open program. The servicer says, this is what we have to net at the end. If you can bring that to us, close the deal. So the disclosure is possible of the minimum net proceeds. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac both say the servicer cannot disclose the minimum net proceeds to the seller, buyer, or real estate agents. In fact, the Fannie Mae form takes out that option in their short sale agreement form 184. The Freddie Mac short sale agreement form 1135 left it in, so it's almost like you could disclose it, but their rules do say they can't. One additional piece of information from Freddie Mac that was helpful is they tell you the formula for calculating the MAP. They say take your BPO value, subtract 9% for transaction costs consisting of commissions and closing, and subtract $6,000 payable to junior lien holders, and subtract $3,000 for relocation assistance to the borrower, and you have your minimum net proceeds they want to get. 9% subtract 9% and $9,000. You have the minimum net proceeds Freddie Mac's looking for in their short sales. What requirements exist after the short sale agreement is signed? All of them provide basically a 120-day minimum listing period that the agent can list the property without being canceled. However, Fannie Mae has imposed a lot of additional duties on their servicers, and whether or not they can actually implement these might be yet to be seen. They want their servicers to approve marketing plans, get monthly feedback, get monthly geographic comparables, and then instruct on list price adjustments as they deem necessary. So they're looking for a lot more oversight over the agents from their servicers in the Fannie Mae plan. Freddie Mac, there's just one difference I want to note. While all three of the plans basically state that you can extend the plans for a length of period up to 1 year, in the Freddie Mac situation, if you want an extension, it must be requested to Freddie Mac no less than 15 days prior to the expiration of the current short sale agreement. So this means that if you're an agent and you need an extension about 3 weeks out, you better be asking the servicer to contact Freddie Mac to get that extension so you meet that 15-day deadline. Finally, an important difference between the plans is real estate commissions. They're very similar, they're just worded differently, and let me tell you what that is. The first thing is the commission in the Treasury Department can't exceed 6%, but because they left a blank in the short sale agreement, it's possible that you might there might be negotiations from the servicer to try to get it below 6%. We haven't seen if they're going to try to do that yet, but that possibility exists. Now, if you submit an offer on the alternative RAS form, the commission is set at 6% in that form, so that's what you'll be paid. Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae both say you're going to get 6%, but they say it again in different ways. Fannie Mae simply says the servicer can't reduce a commission to less than 6%, period. Freddie Mac says they'll pay up to 6%, and the servicer cannot require reductions in commissions below what's stated in the listing agreement. So what that means is if you plug 6% into your listing agreement, you're going to get the 6%. All right, those are 5 of the basic differences in the HAFA programs I thought I should point out to you. Again, there are more differences, and if you'd like to learn more about HAFA and if you'd like to have access to a great resource of HAFA materials, go to our website at hafaprogram.com and you can have free access to a ton of HAFA information. And if you want to have a more detailed training or learn a lot more about it, go to 2010shortsaleplaybook.com for information on our HAFA training course. Thank you for your time.